Inside Michigan Football is presented by Meyer.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Inside Michigan Football. I'm Jim Branstadter, along with two-time Captain All-American John Jansen. And this night, Michigan season came to an end in the college football playoff semifinals, losing to Georgia 34-11. And John, the first half of this game is when it was decided. Michigan goes down 27-3. And they did the uncharacteristic things they haven't done all season that cost them. Defensively, Georgia just beat them up, which is something I did not see coming.
Well, and you know what? Michigan just couldn't find a way to move the ball offensively. They never got in any kind of rhythm. Michigan all season long their identity has been establishing the run, and they couldn't do that tonight. They couldn't find a way to protect Cade McNamara. The offensive line struggled to block movement. I mean, we could go on and on. And I think it really came down to Georgia got the ball first. They obviously go down. In the first half, they scored on every single possession. The only thing that stopped them was the clock. And to go down 17-0 to start the game, 14-0 in those first two drives, it just was too easy for Georgia. And you talk about the things that, Michigan uncharacteristically did. It was also in the coaching staff. The adjustments just weren't there in the first half.
The thing that Georgia did against Michigan's defense that Michigan just couldn't solve was they attacked our perimeter. Whether it was with a quick pass or whether it was a quick pitch, whatever it was, they didn't allow Michigan's pass pressure to get to Stetson Bennett. The quick throw game, no pressure, and they got the ball outside, and then Michigan couldn't handle their speed at the perimeter.
Well, and if you're developing a game plan for Michigan's defense, the two things that you want to make sure, the two people that you want to make sure that you take out of the game are David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson. And they did that by 3- and 5-step drops. Stetson Bennett caught the ball and basically got rid of it right away. And it eliminated any type of pass rush. Anytime that Stetson Bennett had to drop back, they did put pressure on him. So the quick passing game out to the edge. And I was surprised that Michigan was playing in such deep coverage to start the game. Because if you're experiencing those quick passes, you want to make sure that you pressure those receivers. And they just never made that adjustment.
And the other thing that Georgia did, and give Georgia credit, okay, and Stetson Bennett credit, they found matchups when they sent a running back wide and a linebacker like Junior Colson went to cover him man-to-man. They would automatically go to him on a fly route and try to take advantage of that speed mismatch, and it turned into big plays. Those are things that, as a defensive scheme, you got to figure, they're going to do that once. They're going to do it again. We better have somebody over the top to help that linebacker.
Well, and the way that they did was they set it up by putting a running back out wide, linebacker covers them, and everybody else is on the other side of the field. So there's really not much support that you can give them at that point without exposing somebody else. And Michigan just was never able to come up with answers. We're never able to put pressure on the quarterback. They were able to stop the run between the tackles, but to your point, those quick pitches to the outside, they weren't able to stop those either.
And you play a good team, and Georgia's a very, very good team. Let's face it, these guys deserve to be in the national championship game. You cannot turn the ball over. You can't give them extra possessions, and Michigan did that. And that ultimately is a recipe for disaster.
Well, it is. Anytime you give a team an opportunity to extend drives or to get more possessions, you're not going to win many of those football games. And there was just nothing Michigan did to give themselves an advantage.
The other thing is when you're unable to run the football, and that's where Michigan needed to do. Hassan Haskins, you got to run the football with him to take a little bit of that defensive pressure off, tire that defense out. They didn't do it. And that ultimately came back to haunt Michigan.
Well, it did. And when you look at the job that Stetson Bennett did, it was, everything that he wanted to come into the game, it was him or JT Daniels. And I think they went with the right quarterback. Obviously they did because they won the game, but he's a smart quarterback. He does things to give them an advantage, puts them in advantage. He picks out those mismatches and takes advantage of them.
He did indeed. And basically game was over at the end of the first half, with Georgia piling up the big lead. Don't go away. When we come back, John and I will talk about the second half. Michigan tried to get back in it, fought their way a little bit, and then we'll also hear from Jim Harbaugh. That's coming up next right here on Inside Michigan Football.
Inside Michigan Football is brought to you in part by Meyer, official sponsor of Michigan Athletics and proud sponsors of local sports teams across the Midwest. And by Gardner White, Detroit's #1 furniture and mattress store.
We're back on the floor of Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida, the surface where the Capital One Orange Bowl and National Football Playoff semifinals were played, where Michigan lost a 34-11 decision to Georgia, and Georgia goes on to play for the national championship, a game that Michigan desperately wanted to get to and take on Alabama. But Georgia will be there, and they're the team that should be there. In the second half, with a big lead, Georgia did what Georgia does. They ran the football, and the one thing that was surprising is that we didn't adjust enough, and they were able to control the clock, and we were forced, to do some things we don't normally do offensively to try to get back in the game, and that ultimately hurt our chances to get back in the game. And then turnovers reared their ugly head, and you can't give away possessions.
Well, and when you start off a half 27-3 deficit, you're not going to be able to run the ball to get back in the game. At some point, you're going to have to throw the ball, and we saw more of J.J. McCarthy in the second half because the offensive line continued their struggles in pass protection, something that was very uncharacteristic of this offensive line. We had lost yardage plays, but I thought J.J. McCarthy came in and asserted himself well because of the fact that the quarterback was under pressure. He was able to extend plays. He was able to throw the ball downfield. Had a nice connection with Donovan Edwards. And it was nice to see some young guys get some time and some experience in this environment, because the goal is to get back here and to be able to use this experience to their advantage.
And I think you saw the future of Michigan football in the second half of this football game. You saw Donovan Edwards, a true freshman, make a great play. J.J. McCarthy, as we said, plus the touchdown. The only touchdown they scored was a double move by Andrell Anthony, a true freshman, and J.J. McCarthy threw him the touchdown pass. So a little bit of the future was in that second half against a very, very quality Georgia football team.
It is, and the future looks bright. And Jim Harbaugh talks about this being the beginning, the start of something new. He talked about that after the Ohio State game, talked about it after the trip to Indianapolis. And again tonight, he mentioned that this is the start of something new, and the experience that these players had down here, you can't discredit the value of that, because Georgia has been here before. They haven't come away national champions, and you could see some of that experience pay off for this team today.
And the thing you learned, Michigan learned, hopefully, that Jim Harbaugh is going to tell them this lesson. This is where we have to get. We have to be as good as Georgia to come back here to compete for a national championship. They see now where they have to go. So in a way, it is a big learning curve, but they now know where they have to get. So that's a benefit from this game, even though you got beaten pretty badly.
Well, and the other thing is Michigan has to understand their identity, and they did throughout the course of the year, and they weren't able to come through on that tonight, being able to dominate at the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively. And I think if you look at both halves at any point, there were mistakes made, but unless you can control the line of scrimmage, you're not going to be able to be in a game.
And the other thing I think that we have to remember is, as disappointing as this is, this Michigan football team beat an Ohio State team that was considered one of the best in the country and won a Big Ten championship. Yeah, everybody's disappointed. We would love to have gone into the championship game. We didn't want to suffer a blowout at the hands of Georgia. But this team still won a Big Ten championship and dominated the Big Ten West Conference or division winner. So there's a lot of good things to take from this season. Let's not go all Titanic on it.
No, and they said they reset the standard. When you think about what the standard is at Michigan, when you played, it was Big Ten championships. When I played, it was Big Ten championships. We won a national championship. Now they've also set the standard moving forward of this is how you have to work to have an opportunity for a Big Ten championship. Aiden Hutchinson, Hassan Haskins, they all set that standard starting last January. Now those that are coming next they know exactly what it takes to win a Big Ten championship, and now they know what a team that is going to the college football finals, what it looks like.
It is something. Michigan loses in the college football playoff semifinal to Georgia, 34-11. Let's go hear from Jim Harbaugh in the conversation he had with John Jansen just after the game.
That was a great season. We were trying to make it greater by winning this game tonight. Didn't go our way. Credit to Georgia. They made a lot of plays, and able to sustain drives, able to do a lot of things that we were trying to do. Really be productive on first down, getting a lot of those third downs, short yardage situations, which they did a great job of. I don't know if they might have had 9 or 10 of those 3rd and 1 type of situations. But overall, they were the better team tonight.
When you look back at this season and all that you were able to accomplish, what are some of the memories that you have about this senior class and what they meant to your program?
They meant the world. One of the best teams Michigan's ever had, 12 wins. To me, can think of no team that means more to me than this team does. And it's a beginning. I look at it more like a beginning than an end, and make no apologies for having a great season.
Well, and you mentioned that after the end of the regular season, it's the beginning, it's a start of something new. So I guess that begs the question, where do you go from here? What type of lessons can you take from this game and from this year to continue to move forward?
Keep building, always building, always striving for continuous improvement, continuous effort, continuous improvement. Really, things started just about this time last year when the new year came around. Guys like Aiden Hutchinson's well documented. Now Cade McNamara, Hassan Haskins, group of players that became infectious to an entire squad. And we take what's been built and add to it, build onto it. But that's how, in terms of, that's the beginning.
Congratulations on a great season, Coach.
All right, thanks, John.
Today's conversation with Jim Harbaugh is brought to you by Meijer, official sponsor of Michigan Athletics and proud sponsors of local sports teams across the Midwest.
When we come back, Ed Kingerski will have player reaction after this college football playoff semifinal defeat.
Welcome back, everybody. Fans often debate, would you rather lose a close game or get blown out? It doesn't matter. It hurts regardless. And in the case of this one, it's certainly going to linger a little longer than most. We talked to some of the guys after their semifinal loss to the Bulldogs.
This wasn't our day, and sometimes it happens. You're going to face a lot of adversity in life, and this is one of those moments, but I'm taking the good from it and, moving on.
There's no secret trick. It's just you got to go out and execute what the game plan was. And, we'd have glimpses here and there, and then we couldn't sustain. And, in a high-stakes game against a great opponent, that's a killer.
We kept fighting back, and they kept pulling stuff out of their hat. But we stayed together, man, and the most important thing is we battled to the end. It hurts. We fought. I love every single one of these guys on this team. We fought our butts off, and we continued to grind it out. And it's been a great season. This one hurts, but they're not done yet, and I'm not done yet. So they just gotta take this and learn from it. And this is just the beginning of something special.
Hurts, but looking past this one, I'm just really proud of this team. I'm really gonna miss playing with this unit, this whole team. So. Just really proud to be a part of this team and be a member of this family.
Man, it was a dream. As simple as that. It was a dream. Again, no one even thought we were going to be here, man. And look at us playing in the playoffs. And didn't end the way we want, but it's a dream.
Very disappointing. But, this season, we accomplished great things and set the standard for years to come of Michigan football and the way it's supposed to be.
Ross certainly one of many who deserve credit for leading an historic season. And speaking of history, this is just one of 3 teams in program history to win a dozen games in a single season: 1905, 1997, and of course, 2021. For Inside Michigan Football, I'm Ed Kingerski.
I just hope that they can learn from me and what we did this season and bounce back next year and do some amazing things and do better things than we did this year.
Well, Georgia turned the lights out on Michigan season, and here at the Hard Rock Cafe, they turned the lights out on us. But we want to talk more on Inside Michigan Football about what's coming up for this football team. John Jansen, we saw a little bit of the future with J.J. McCarthy and Andrell Anthony and Donovan Edwards. We saw Rod Moore, a great defensive player. There's a lot of future that Michigan can look forward to as being very positive as you go into 2022?
Well, there is, and a lot of lessons learned throughout the course of this year. I talk about that Rutgers game early in the season. I talk about the trip to Madison, Wisconsin, Lincoln, Nebraska, coming from behind, continuing to fight through. And then obviously so many lessons learned in East Lansing. One, you don't want to lose in East Lansing. And two, what you do when you have a 16-point lead and the ability to fight back, the ability to hold leads. We saw that pay off in State College. We saw it pay off against Ohio State. All of those were very important lessons. And then we also saw the value of wins and what it means by being able to get to Indianapolis and come away with a Big Ten championship.
The other thing we saw was the value of leadership. Somebody like Aiden Hutchinson has shown the young kids, this is what you need to do. When he came back and said to the strength coach, I want to do everything possible, wear me out, that's something young kids look at and said, this is where I have to go to be as good as I can be.
Well, and he set a standard for defensive ends, and for outside linebackers. David Ojabo did the same thing. Who is next in line? They left a legacy. Part of that legacy when I left Michigan was, what did I want that offensive line to remember and learn from what my time was there? What did this defensive line and that position group learn from watching Aiden Hutchinson, not just on the field or in the weight room, but in the classroom? When you study the game of football, how do you study it? All of those things go into creating championship football and a legacy of championships.
These youngsters learned a lot. They learned about winning a Big Ten championship and getting to the college football playoff. Now it's about taking that next step. Don't go away. When we come back, we'll wrap up another season of Inside Michigan Football.
Inside Michigan Football is brought to you in part by Meijer, official sponsor of Michigan Athletics and proud sponsors of local sports teams across the Midwest. And by Gardner White, Detroit's #1 furniture and mattress store.
On September 7, 1980, legendary Michigan replay producer and director Bob Lipson inserted a young sportscaster named Jim Branstadter onto a set alongside head football coach Bo Schembechler. And the rest is history.
Well, Jim, welcome to the show, and I'm really looking forward to the 1980 season and having you aboard.
Brandy worked with 6 head football coaches during his 41 years of hosting Michigan's syndicated coaches television program. From Bo and Mo to Carr. Then came a new era of Michigan football on TV and inside Michigan football. There were many changes, but the show was always stable on top, with Jim holding things down for the viewers. Brandy became an author, a 2-time Michigan Sportscaster of the Year, a Michigan Association of Broadcasters Hall of Famer, and a Michigan Sports Hall of Famer. His love of radio and television is obvious, but doesn't compare to his love for his wife, Robbie, and of course, the University of Michigan. Today is Jim's 625th and final television show for the football program. It's been a historic ride for one of the really good guys in this business.
For Inside Michigan Football.
And some may remember that Jim Branstadter hosted over 100 Michigan Replay basketball editions as well.
I did that too.
Jim, congrats on a great career, not just as a player, but as a Michigan man and what you meant to the University of Michigan and Michigan athletics.
Thank you. 42 years I've done Michigan football, and it started with Michigan Replay, and then it's gone on to Inside Michigan Football. But as we talked about on the broadcast, it's about the relationships, and guys like you and Pat McLaughlin and Colin McCarty, Ed Kengursky, and all the guys we worked with over the years. They're the guys that create the family that makes this show work. And all the folks at home that have come up to me on the road and said, you're the voice of Michigan football. We love you and thank you. Believe me, I love you. You guys have given me the opportunity to have a career. I am the lucky one. Believe me when I tell you that. I am the lucky one. I want to thank you for the support you've given me over these past 42 years. And don't forget, Michigan football ain't going anywhere. Michigan football is around forever. It will survive and it will flourish. I'm moving on, but I'm just a senior graduating. He's the guy taking over, and this is going to be great. Thank you all very much. So long. After 42 years, I'm the lucky one. Thank you.